Welcome into the Press Box Fantasy Football Show, starring the lovely and talented Mr. Ken Zalis. He is your host for the Ken Zalis Variety Hour.
Hour?
Yeah, no, we're going to do
upgrade?
30 minutes. I mean, do you want to do an hour today? Not the day.
Wait, we could do hours.
I'm not in the mood today.
Yes.
It's good to have KZ back for another season of the Press Box Fantasy Football Show. We want to thank everybody who makes it possible. Wise Markets, CCBC, Glory Days Grill, and the U.S. Army make it possible for us to do this each and every week. What's your warrior? Become it in the Army. Whether you want to cure diseases or develop technology the world doesn't know exists, the Army is where all of that can happen. Find out more by contacting your local Army recruiter and follow us on social media at U.S. Army Baltimore. Ask yourself, what's your warrior? And go to goarmy.com/Baltimore to find out. Ken, before we get into everything, I guess just, we know that we're going to have a trivial conversation about a topic that's not nearly as important as everything else that's going on in the world. We're going to do it because that's what we do. This is a fantasy football show, but we're not trying to pretend as though all of that goes away or we can distract from it or pretend like it's not happening by doing this. I think that's the fairest way that I can think to say this.
No. I mean, look, I don't. My head hurts. That's the only way I can describe it. My head hurts because it's on many fronts. But at a certain level, day-to-day life has to continue to a certain degree. And I was having this conversation with my 16-year-old. I was like, there are people that don't have the distraction that I do and can look into doing something that you enjoy doing and do rankings and talk about football and things like that. Whether it happens or not, it's a good distraction right now. Otherwise, you could dive into this 24-hour, 365-day news cycle and just get into a very dark place. And and that's what I'm using it as right now. It's a distraction. Drafts are happening over the next 2 weeks, whether there's going to be NFL football on September 10th or not. We have to pretend like there's going. It remains to be seen. We have to prepare, and people that have been doing this for a long time, as I have, this is, it's kind of my brain and my body are used to getting through this. So we'll do the best we can for everybody, and not try to pretend that there are not thousands of more important things happening every single moment in the world right now.
As far as news, since the last time you and I talked, on the injury front, David Montgomery, I think, is the most significant thing. As we know, it looks like he would be out for the start of the season now.
It does look that way. Which is unfortunate. He was one of those players that we thought would take a step forward. Tyreek Cohen, I don't know. He's not. No matter what we want to make Cohen into, he's not a 15, 20 touch guy. They don't have much else there.
There has been a lot of bluster about the possibility of them signing Devontae Freeman.
Devontae Freeman has, but he's not signed, and in a world that we don't even know what the quote unquote people in camp are doing on a daily basis. Somebody that hasn't been in a camp and is just working out on their own, I can't imagine is in football shape. So it's like, okay, he's being drafted in all drafts anyway as a late round flyer. What's he not ready for 4 weeks at least? I think they're going to go, when we start to see depth charts and things like that. We'll see what happens. But as far as Montgomery goes, I had him as a top 24 running back. I'm probably going to knock him down into, low RB3 category, depending on what news we get out and how long. If it's a 2-week thing, that's fine. If it's a 6 to 8 week thing,
so I've seen 2 to 4 floated around.
Yeah, it's all depending, and that's in the fantasy world that we live in. Unfortunately, there's more we don't know on a daily basis than we do. But the Montgomery.
But you're still drafting David Montgomery.
Of course you're drafting him. You're probably not drafting him as your RB2 right now anymore.
It's not a serious enough injury. We don't think where they're going to go and acquire like Marlon.
We just talked about Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, they could.
Yes.
They could. Devontae Freeman is the name that we talked about and could be that guy. And I think if they do go and sign him, it's much worse than the team thinks it's much worse than they're letting on right now.
Especially when they already have Tariq Cohen on their roster.
Right. I mean, you could make do with Tariq Cohen for a couple of weeks. You're not going to make do for even a half a season, an 8-week time frame with him being your lead back.
Has there been anything else news-wise, injury, something that we've learned about a depth? It's these are things that are very difficult when you're not having preseason games. The depth chart is the only value of a preseason game.
Right.
Is to see who lines up and starts that maybe you didn't realize was perhaps going to be a starter. Is there anything else on that front?
So the Joe Mixon thing is kind of disturbing. He tweaked something. He wasn't in practice one day. Or he was on the sideline for one practice, and then he didn't show up at all yesterday, and I don't even know if they practiced today or not. But he's in the middle of a contract dispute, and word around the NFL is the new holdout term is I have an injury. Like anything that is a little minor tweak.
Call it migraines, right?
Yeah, we heard migraines, and
it's your way of
it's your way of not holding out but holding out,
getting around the system. Right.
So that's of some concern for a guy that.
Now you said this is a guy that you're talking about as a first round type of pick.
Absolutely.
Like, how much of a concern is it?
I mean, it's a concern that I may consider Clyde Edwards-Helaire over him now and bump him down a couple of spots. I already moved Josh Jacobs above him a couple of weeks ago. It's the problem with the running backs, and as we get into this, is that after the top 4, maybe 5 running backs, everybody has a question. Like a huge question. Either it's an injury, or it's a contract, or it's a shared backfield. We still haven't seen Miles Sanders come back to practice, and that's been very secretive, for a lower body injury, whatever that means. So it's a little risky up at the top. I've seen over the last couple of days, Devontae Adams been drafted a little bit sooner than we've seen him in some places, because people are scared off by the running backs that have a tweak or something like that, and so there's some risk involved, and Kyle and I went through this the other day in one of his drafts. You have to have a nice balance between risk and safety, and that floor and ceiling. And if you went risky early, you got to be real safe the rest of the way.
So let's just let's pretend you're drafting tonight, right? And when you're talking about Mixon in particular,
yes.
Where is it that you think that number is? I mitigate whatever risk there is of this thing. This migraine thing and this rumor that some people think he's actually holding out, right? Like, where is it that you say, here's how I mitigate the risk if I take him at this spot?
I think let's say you're in a 12-team league, I think if you can take him at 10, 11, or 12, because you're close enough on the turn to back that up with another quality back. I think if you're taking him somewhere around 6 to 9, where he was going.
You're saying there's too much risk now that when you get your next pick.
When you get your next pick. I mean, if you take him at, let's say, 7, and then you don't pick again, and all of a sudden every running back
Fournette, right?
Right. I mean, Fournette all of a sudden becomes your top running back, or someone like even Todd Gurley. I mean, Todd Gurley. Then you're saying, oh well, how much risk? Now you're totally at risk because Todd Gurley is coming into a new situation with what we don't know, what we think is a not 100% knee over the last couple of years. Although he played well down the stretch, he's still in the middle of the year. Do they try to mitigate that by giving some extra carries to a Brian Hill, for example, and things like that? So it's risk reward. In my first round, I want to be as safe as I can.
So let's go to a theory that you wrote about in one of your mock drafts, which is zero running back.
Makes my skin crawl.
Is there a point at which, like, you just sort of say, I don't love any of these guys. I don't feel comfortable with any of these guys at 10 and at 14.
I don't think it's possible.
And I say, give me two guys, whether it's a quarterback and a wide receiver, a quarterback and a tight end, the Travis Kelce, that you say, I feel extraordinarily comfortable about these players and what they're going to do production-wise. I'm going to take two guys that I know are going to be highly productive with little risk, and I will deal with this problem later on.
I'm less against it this year than I ever have been.
It's interesting.
I don't know that I could still pull the trigger myself on that.
No, I hear you.
But I would understand it. In fact, I joked with somebody because we have a draft where we mocked our draft order, and I came up with 12, and I said to everybody, I'm going quarterback, tight end. I said, just put it down, and they all laughed at me, and I'm like, I maybe go a quarterback, tight end if I have the 12th pick, because...
By the way, at that point, if you go Mahomes, Kelce, you feel...
Right. Well, that's what...
I just had the 12th pick in my draft, and... I did a lot of mocks leading up to it, to the point where I felt confident, like, the drop-off from Kelce to Mark Andrews maybe isn't as sizable as some people might say. I felt confident I was going to get, like, I considered those scenarios, and there was a huge run on running backs in the first 2 or 3 rounds before I got back to
that's what was my next statement. If you do not get a running back in the first 2 rounds of your fantasy draft, just go zero running back. I mean, load up in the first 6 rounds or first 5 rounds, quarterbacks, tight end, wide receivers, just load it. And then when you come to the 6th round, start getting the Phillip Lindsays and the Marlon Macks and the Swifts, some of the rookies, the Tevin Colemans, guys that are direct. Either you think they're in a timeshare automatically, or they're the direct backup where they're going to have use. Just go straight forward with that. Maybe go grab J.K. Dobbins, who I think
Mark Ingram is supremely undervalued.
He is, and that's because of Dobbins. But I mean, if you look at all the rookie running backs. I mean, Dobbins is my number 2 right now, because I think right now I know that he's going to get 10 touches.
Because the Ravens are going to run the ball.
They're going to run the ball. He's going to get
25
touches.
Running back.
Right.
You're going to touch the ball, or carries at least minimum. Right.
So you're going to touch the ball, and you saw Ingram break down at the end of last year. Do the Ravens come in? Hey, we got 2 studs. Let's just keep them both healthy. Let's go that. We still have Gus Edwards. I mean, you have all these things. I like Dobbins as that safer guy over a guy like Keyshawn Vaughn and things like that. Akers, we've heard absolutely zero about out of Ravens. It's a really strange
scenario out there, right? Like,
seems
where
like they'll use him, right?
Where, is it Malcolm Brown the guy now?
No, Darrell Henderson would be the
second
line, right?
He got hurt.
He's been nicked up.
The word is that Malcolm Brown is... Yes.
Look... Akers, I really loved Akers, and I loved where he went. Now, this is a whole discussion, as I wrote about in some of the mocks, about rookies. We don't know. I mean, rookies take a long learning curve when they get into a normal NFL season, where they start the week after the draft with OTAs, and they start getting the book, and they start getting touches, and then, you have 4 preseason games and a normal training camp. We've had none of that. So... it could just be Rams camp right now, that Malcolm Brown's been there for, 3 years.
Of course, right.
And we trust him. So there's going to be a lot of that with the rookies, that the coaching staff is going to go with who they trust. And these rookies are going to have to earn the trust. Jonathan Taylor, I love Jonathan Taylor. He was my RB1 coming into the draft. Went to a terrific situation. Okay, the Colts. I like Marlon Mack, but he is not Jonathan Taylor.
Sure.
He does not have that type of ability. But they're going to split carries at best, and he's not good. Jonathan Taylor will not be the starter till at least week 5. It's just one of those things. He has to earn the trust. If Jonathan Taylor gets in there and misses a pass pro assignment, you may not see a lot of Jonathan Taylor early, until they can feel confident that he can do that. And that's where you always hear that rookies struggle in pass pro, catching the ball out of the backfield. Keyshawn Vaughn, everybody, I love Keyshawn Vaughn. I like the skill set. He dropped 4 passes the other day. Tom Brady's going to throw him a ball in a game when you can't catch the ball when nobody's on you in practice. I just think you have to be careful, and I think in this day and age, if you just endorse 0 running back if you do not go running back in your first 2 rounds. Just do it.
But the idea being, it's really hard to do that without taking a running back in the first 2 rounds. It's still really hard.
If you decide to do it, if you go, let's say you're picking 7th, and you say, no, you know what, I'm going to go save all these running backs, and I'm going to pick Devontae Adams at 7, and then he comes back and like, oh, Mahomes is still on the board. Lamar Jackson's still on the board.
Right. How do I feel about that
how
versus
I feel
Miles
about that?
Sanders, for example?
Right. Miles Sanders, who's hurt, or I don't know, Kenyon Drake, who's in a boot. Let me take the quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, then you're going. Here we go. You're going 0 running back.
It's interesting. It's an interesting thought. All right, we're going to grab a break. I got questions from you guys. If you have questions, get them in either on Facebook or at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, and we will pose them to KZ for your own drafts that are coming up. This is the Press Box Fantasy Football Show with Ken Zalis.
With Wise Market's lowest price guarantee, we guarantee the lowest price in the area. If a local competitor advertises any of our tagged lowest price guarantee items at a lower price, we'll give you double the difference with purchase.
Eat better, spend less, that's Wise.
Looking to get one up on the competition? Supercharge your computer skills. CCBC has classes at all levels from beginner to expert coder. Explore Microsoft Office, gaming, or even ethical hacker. Maybe hardware is your gig. Become A+ certified. All tuition free if you qualify. Call 443-840-4700 or visit ccbcmd.edu/quickreg.
If you're looking to make an impact, there's no better place to do that than the U.S. Army. Whether your goal is to fight and cure deadly diseases, develop technologies, or seek adventures across the globe, the Army is where all of that can happen, and so much more. The Army is a team of 1 million individuals working together to take on the most complex problems in the nation and the world, and to win. Ask yourself, what's your warrior? Go to army.com/Baltimore to find out. To learn more, contact your local Army recruiter and find us on social media at U.S. Army Baltimore.
Glory Days Grill's summer seasonal menu is now available for dine-in, dine-out on the patio, or to go. It's a new season, so enjoy new flavors. Try their new Knockout Shrimp or the delicious lobster roll with grilled corn made with real Maine lobster. They're open from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. Visit GloryDaysGrill.com for a location near you. From the Glory Days Grill family, stay healthy and stay positive during this challenging time in our community. All right, back in here on the Press Box Fantasy Football Show with Ken Zalis, Glenn Clark, Kyle Ottenheimer as well. Get your questions in at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. For example, John in Little Rock got a question in. He wants to know, KZ, I'm picking 6th in my PPR 12-team draft. Who you got? Keep in mind, I bet someone is going to take a quarterback before my 6th pick.
Well, if somehow... I mean, you have.
So who's your consensus top 5? Who in your mind is the top 5?
It's McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott, Kamara are the top 4, and then you throw Thomas in there in a PPR. Now in a half PPR standard, I like to go the running back still, and it's either Cook or Henry depending on.
But you said it was a PPR.
PPR, I think his pick is Thomas.
Okay,
ahead of Kamara or after Kamara?
After Kamara. Like if Kamara's on the board, you grab Kamara because he's going to catch 80 balls, and that's such an advantage over every other running back that you're going to get. Whereas you may be able to come back and get Hopkins, who could put up numbers, or one of the Tampa Bay guys, Galladay, things like that, who, they're not going to catch 150 balls, but they may catch 120, the next running back you may get may only catch 30 balls. So Kamara, if he's there, for sure. If not, I think you're going Thomas there.
Joe wants to know. He wants to know about Hollywood Brown. He says everybody's talking about Hollywood Brown as a sleeper. He's certainly a guy that I want. I'm excited by his new body type, but I don't know exactly where it is that it's fair to take him, and at what point, if I take him, he's no longer a sleeper.
He's a wide receiver 4 on your team. No more. Okay? If he can be a wide receiver 5, even better. But here's the reality. We love the talent. We love, if this is a local Baltimore draft, he's going to go earlier than he should.
Going around the 6th round.
It's insane that he goes that early. The Ravens just simply don't throw the ball enough to their wide receivers to make him any more than a wide receiver 4 on your team.
Feels like the most catches he could have this year is 80. The absolute most he could have is 80, right?
I was having. It's so funny. I was just having this discussion on a chat. I was like, if he gets 60 to me, I think he's having a good year. If he has something like 7-8 touchdowns with that, I think we're looking at the yards. He could go 60 for 850 with 7 touchdowns, and he would finish in the wide receiver 3 area. Mm-hmm. But when I see people saying he's going to catch 80 balls, I was like, that is the absolute upside. And that would be just tremendous. I can't sign on that he's my wide receiver 3, especially in a PPR scenario on my fantasy.
The curious thing is you could make the argument still that he could still be filling a volume role for the Ravens with the amount of screens and slants they threw to him last year, right? It wasn't
what screen?
What
screen? I missed the screen.
But he was still there. He was still there. The only receiver that could be relied on, right? It felt like by Lamar at times last year.
Well, he is. So okay. They drafted a couple of other receivers. You're hoping that Boykin takes the next step. That you're not. Nobody in the fantasy world seems to be taking any catches away from anyone in the Ravens. Brown's going to get more, but Andrews is still going to have his. They're going to throw the ball more to the running backs. They have all these other wide receivers. I just don't see where there's 80 catches involved in this offense for him, and that's why I don't have him as high as he's being drafted, especially in local Baltimore drafts. So to me, he's a 4 with upside, and that would be great. If he's your 3. It could be okay, but it's not without risk. There is a floor there.
Supercharge.
Also a guy. Excuse me. Sorry. Also a guy that injury history dictates.
There has been word that has been improving, but we'll see. Supercharge your computer skills with beginner to advanced classes at CCBC. All tuition free if you qualify. 443-840-4700. From Chris. Chris says, really interested in what KZ feels about Ronald Jones. Maybe relevant because we were just talking about Tom Brady a second ago. I feel like I am getting higher on him and starting to think that he might be a priority for me.
Oh, he's a running back 3, running back 4 on your team. If he's your running back 2, you pray that he's the guy. I think the fact that Vaughn has had such a horrible start to his NFL career in camp.
Let's be fair.
Well, for what we think we know from the people that are there, what they're allowed to see, he's not having a great camp. Right. My concern is how many times, down by the goal line or, if he's going to be the goal line back, okay. I don't know that he's the third down back. I think the kid, Dare, and if you're going to ask me, there you go. If you're going to ask me to pronounce his name, we're in for a long day, is going to be the third down back, and he has some sneaky sleeper PPR appeal late in drafts. But Ronald Jones as an RB3 is fine right now, based on the fact that he's probably going to get the most touches in that backfield. I'm just not, how many years in a row are we going to do this with Ronald Jones, and all of a sudden, because Tom Brady is there, he's miraculously good again?
In fairness, Tom Brady's probably not going to be throwing downfield nearly.
No, I had this discussion with somebody yesterday. He was doing something, and they're like, everybody's really excited how explosive.
I got to figure out what the secret is. That somebody who is doing something is the way that you describe this.
I was doing another thing.
Another interview?
Yeah.
You were on the radio.
I know, a different podcast.
Different podcasts?
I'll explain it later. It's not.
You whore yourself out to other podcasts now?
No.
Jeez.
I don't. Not like this. It was on the phone, so it was like an interview, but it's a weekly thing. But anyway,
it's unbelievable.
We were talking about. I know it's terrible.
It's unbelievable.
All you gotta do is put an extra zero at the end of the paycheck, and we're good.
Get to the point.
The point is that if everybody's expecting the Tampa Bay offense to be as explosive as the Tampa Bay offense was last year, you're barking up the wrong tree. First of all, Tom Brady's not going to throw 3 interceptions every week in the first quarter, so that he has to throw 55 times a week. They don't want him to throw 55 times a week. I think they're going to be really good. I just don't think they're going to be what they were for the fantasy world with Jameis Winston because of the ups and downs that Jameis Winston put that team in.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. I hear you know that. Craig wants to know if he's crazy to think that Kyler Murray is the quarterback that he absolutely should have and that he's willing to take them before, maybe even Deshaun Watson.
He's going around there.
I mean, no, you're not crazy. I mean, if you're going into your draft and saying, I have to have him, yeah, you're a little crazy because that's just ridiculous in when there's 15 quarterbacks that could start on your fantasy squad and win you a championship, and you can get one of those guys somewhere around the 12th round or later in many cases. But if Kyler Murray is around in the 5th, 6th round, and you think that he's going to take the next step and be that guy, I'm very high on him this year. Yeah, go and grab him if you want to grab him as the 3rd overall quarterback. Sure, you want to take him before Dak.
He's going in that range, but Dak, there's a gulf between when Mahomes and Lamar go, obviously, and then when the next run on.
I mean, if you want to take him as the 3rd quarterback off the board before Dak and before Russell Wilson, before Deshaun Watson, I'm fine with it. That just can't happen in the 3rd or 4th round for me. So that's where it is. It's not crazy to want him, but it's crazy to say I'm going to draft him no matter where I am, and panic because Mahomes and Lamar go off the board in the 1st or 2nd round and say, oh, round 3 I got to have him. No, you don't.
I mean, I hear you. I hear you on that. John from Little Rock wants to know if Rager's your top rookie wide receiver. We talked a little bit about this last week.
I mean, situationally, yeah, he looks like he'll get the most touches. I mean, I really think the kid Ayuk in San Francisco those two have the ability to be on the field right away. The rookie that people aren't really thinking about that is guaranteed a starting spot is Jefferson in Minnesota, because he's going to step right in.
I heard he might work at the 3rd.
Yeah, but I mean, Bissy Johnson. But I mean, when they go to 3 wide receiver sets, I mean, he's on the field. He's going to probably be the slot guy for them. I really like Judy in Denver. I'm not as high on CeeDee Lamb. I just don't think there's the targets that are available in Dallas for him. Love the talent. It's not about talent.
Yeah, and I don't like Henry Ruggs quarterback, and I don't like there's
Ruggs to me.
I said this last week. I am normally the guy that grabs as many rookie wide receivers. I am really like even Rager. You have to count on Carson Wentz, and that's a really difficult thing for me to count on Carson Wentz staying healthy and being productive. Now again, is there a point that I take him? Sure, there's a point that I take him. But I used to be the guy that was grabbing up these guys. I just don't.
I took Allen over Wentz because of that same.
You have to be careful with the rookies. It's not only their situation, but the fact that that they're not going to know everything they usually know, even going into game 1.
I'm trying to talk myself into, and again, this comes back to the quarterback. I'm trying to talk myself into Laviska Shenault, right? But I just feel so little about Gardner Minshew that
I like Minshew for what it's worth.
I don't.
But I don't feel strongly about it.
So I think they're going to have to throw the ball a whole lot. And we know, going back to our draft shows, I love Shenault. I think he's going to be a terrific player. I just don't know how many targets you're going to get. The quarterback. I mean, it's not like we're talking about he went to a place where, as much as I like Minshew, he's not a top 10 quarterback in the league. He's probably not 15. He has potential upside, 1,000%. I don't know how much I believe in that offense.
He played so well they didn't want him halfway through the season to be the quarterback anymore. I mean, like they just there is nothing about Gardner Minshew that has said to me that
He's
this
got
is
pretty
something
good
you can
mobility.
But if you take him in the first round, you can get
a case of Bud Light.
Ah, well now wait a second.
I'm sorry, you could be eligible for a case of Bud Light. I'm like, did I read that right?
Christ, that's bad. All right, quickly two more, both also about rookies from Ryan. Ryan wants to know your thoughts on Antonio Gibson. Says, I've heard that he's getting some first-team reps.
Yeah, because everybody's getting first-team reps because every day Peterson gets some, Love gets some, Peyton Barber gets some. They're working everybody with there. Gibson is not going to be a 15-touch guy coming out of the chute. He barely played running back in college. He was a wide receiver / receiving gadget running back. Love the talent. I don't see it early on. I think if you're trying to be sneaky with the running back situation, you go and grab Bryce Love with your last pick and say, let's see how it works out. Adrian Peterson's going to be the starter week 1. Gibson will be the receiving back, so if you're in a PPR, there's some value there. But that's going to be like a 3-4-headed monster every week until it works its way out. So not early.
Jason goes back to the rookie wide receivers. Wants to know your thoughts on Chase Claypool in Pittsburgh.
Zero. Okay. Zero interest. You can get him for free on the waiver wire if he becomes a thing. I mean, Deontay.
There is always the danger, right, that like somebody has a big week 1. And
sure.
Man.
I mean, put him on your roster. Hope he gets 2 touchdowns and trade him. But with Deontay Johnson a little bit banged up, he's missed like 6 practices in a row. James Washington is more of a deep threat. Could Chase become that kind of like move tight end H-back type guy? Yeah, he could be, but initially, I mean, I'm not even seeing him drafted. But he's like most players. They're an injury away from being a little bit relevant.
This all goes back to why I liked all these wide receivers. I just don't like any of the situations that they're in. I am not. Yeah. There's no one that I'm high on.
I wasn't a big Chase Poole guy coming out of college, but I mean
Chase Poole.
My
guy Chase Poole. That's.
Sorry.
It's par for the course.
It is.
I'll let John have the last one. Are you downgrading? Or I guess how much are you downgrading Stephon Diggs in Buffalo? I'm not high on him in that offense.
I am not either. I mean, he's a wide receiver 3 for me as well. He's not going to be one of my top 2. With the way they run the ball, they drafted another running back in Moss. To pair with Singletary. John Brown's the deep guy. You're going to get runs from Allen, who I like the upside, but let's not pretend he's the most accurate quarterback out there.
Certainly has not been.
I think his situation, definitely a downgrade from what we got from him last year.
Of course, where they sometimes just forgot to throw him the ball entirely and said, sure, we have this super talented player. We're just not going to bother to throw it to him at any point for some reason. All right, KZ, at Fans Fantasy on Twitter, of course, is how people follow you. What will they be seeing? Do we have like an idea of a schedule for PressBoxOnline.com?
We've already done our we've gone through all 12 mock drafts. The last one came out yesterday. There'll be 10 things we learned from the mock drafts coming out later this week. The following week will just be, some sleepers, some people to look that may not have gotten drafted that keep an eye on for your waiver wire after week 1. And then, the normal Tuesday will get you the preview of the week. Thursday we'll have DFS, and Friday we'll have our sleeper article.
Very good. Thanks also to Glory Days Grill for making the show possible. Of course, Glory Days Grill, you can still take advantage of the summer seasonal menu with the Very Berry salad, the knockout shrimp, of course also that lobster roll with the real Maine lobster and grilled corn. It's available right now at Glory Days Grill. They're open 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day with indoor seating, outdoor seating on the patio, and also still great to-go offers for you. GloryDaysGrill.com to find your nearest location. One more week to talk draft next week, and then we'll actually be setting lineups. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
We hope. KZ, appreciate it, pal. We will see you next Thursday.
We'll see you every Thursday from here on out.
No doubt about that. This has been the PressBox Fantasy Football Show.